How a night meant to heal us quietly broke everything. Have you ever crafted something with your whole heart, only to watch it unravel without warning? That night was supposed to fix us, to remind us of who we were before the exhaustion, before the silence, before life quietly set us adrift in the same house. For weeks I'd been preparing. Lighting, food, music, the right mix of people. A small, intimate gathering at our home. A handful of old friends, my younger brother Milo, and 2 neighbors who always brought warmth rather than judgment. I didn't want extravagance. I wanted nostalgia, comfort, laughter. I wanted him back. My husband, Nathan, had been disappearing into work for months. Late nights at the firm. Missed dinners replaced with brief, apologetic texts. I watched his shoulders round more with each passing day, the fire in his eyes dimming into something mechanical, distant. And I missed him. God, I missed him. This night, our night, was my way of reaching out, of reminding him that beyond the obligations and deadlines, there was still us. That home wasn't just a place but a feeling, one I desperately hoped he hadn't forgotten. I made his favorite lemon tart from scratch, lit every candle we had, and set the table with the plates we only used when it mattered. The house glowed with soft amber light. A playlist of mellow jazz and acoustic ballads hummed low from the speakers, the kind of music that makes you want to slow dance in the kitchen barefoot. People arrived, laughing, hugging. My brother helped open wine. My neighbor Diana brought her famous spinach dip. The conversations were warm, easy, like a slow exhale. Nathan stood near the fireplace most of the night, nursing a glass of bourbon. He smiled when people spoke to him, nodded along to stories, even let out the occasional chuckle. But his smile never quite reached his eyes. I told myself he was just tired, that once the night loosened him up, he'd drift toward me like he used to, reach for my hand, make some dry, perfectly timed joke, and remind me that the spark hadn't gone out. But it never happened. Later, someone brought up an old memory. The time Nathan tried to build a crib for our niece and ended up drilling the wrong pieces into the wall. I embellished the story. Not to mock him, just to make people laugh. I mimed his confusion, his frustrated muttering, and added a little punchline about how my dad had to bail him out. The room erupted. Felt good to hear that kind of laughter again. Familiar. Unburdened. Then came more. Jokes about how Nathan still double-checks the locks 3 times before bed. How he talks to our dog like it's a baby. How he alphabetizes the spice rack but forgets where he left his phone. Laughed too. Felt harmless. Everyone was smiling. Except him. When I glanced at him mid-laughter, his smile was paper-thin. The kind you wear when you're trying not to flinch. And when our eyes met, he looked away fast, as if I'd caught him undressing a wound. Still I didn't stop. By the time the night wound down and people began hugging goodbye, Nathan had slipped out of the room quietly. I assumed he went to the kitchen or maybe stepped outside to get some air. I didn't check. It wasn't until the last guest left and the house fell silent that I noticed the missing pieces. His coat wasn't on the hook. His keys were gone from the bowl by the door. His phone charger was missing. So was his wallet. Called. Straight to voicemail. Texted. Nothing. I stood in our bedroom, still in the dress I'd picked just for him, makeup smudged from hours of smiling. The bed was untouched on his side. And on the nightstand was a single sheet of paper, folded neatly in half. No yelling. No dramatic accusations. Just his handwriting, careful, steady, deliberate. I'm tired, Callie. Not just from work. From feeling like background noise in my own life. From being the punchline in the room you shine in. I know you don't mean to hurt me, but that doesn't change the fact that you did. And tonight, with all those stories, all those laughs, I looked around and realized, this isn't my place anymore. I don't feel seen here. I feel tolerated. Like a necessary shadow to your light. I love you, but I can't keep shrinking to make room for everyone else's joy while mine slips away unnoticed. I need to go. I read it again and again, willing the words to make sense. The next 2 days were a blur of unanswered texts and visits to all the places he loved. A coffee shop near the old bookstore. The walking trail by the lake. His office. Then, on the third evening, I pulled into our driveway and saw the moving truck. Two men were carrying out boxes I didn't recognize. His books, his favorite chair, the records he kept in a locked case. Inside, his side of the closet was hollowed out. The old ceramic mug he always used, the one with the crack near the lip, gone. Even the framed photo of us from our trip to Greece, the one that sat on his nightstand for years, had vanished. The house felt cavernous, cold. And the silence that followed was loud in a way I hadn't prepared for. Friends reached out slowly, cautiously. One told me they noticed how quiet Nathan was that night. Another said she heard him murmur as he stepped outside, "This place isn't mine anymore." That sentence haunted me. Because this wasn't just about one night. It was about 1,000 little moments I brushed off. Times I chose to be entertaining instead of empathetic, charismatic instead of careful. I hadn't mocked him with cruelty, but with complacency. And in doing so I made him feel small. I wrote him a letter. Not a text. Not an email. A real one. I told him I understood now. That I saw every way I made him feel invisible. Not by what I said but by what I failed to protect. I didn't beg. I didn't explain. I simply owned it. Weeks passed. Then a large envelope arrived. Divorce papers. No note. No message. Just a signature line that said everything. I signed them on the same couch where we once shared dreams. Vacations, kids, the names we liked. The same couch where I last saw him smile before I let the room laugh at his expense while I smiled too wide. I think about that night often. The way his eyes dulled. The way I didn't reach for his hand when I should have. And now, when I'm in a room full of laughter, I no longer look toward the center. I scan the edges, for the quiet one, the one holding their glass a little too tightly, smiling a little too politely. Because I will never again overlook someone I love. And I will never forget the man who left me, not out of bitterness, but because he was slowly disappearing in a place that was supposed to be his home.